Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to dive into something we literally all interact with, but probably never actually stop to think about. We're looking at the anatomy of a new note. You know, that absolutely foundational digital artifact, the newly created, completely blank document. I know, it sounds super simple on the surface, right? But honestly, when we take a second to unpack this raw state of a fresh text entry, we uncover this really fascinating intersection of structure, language, and pure potential. So, before any data is entered, before any brilliant ideas are formed, or, before you just jot down your grocery list, we gotta ask ourselves, what does a completely empty canvas actually represent in its rawest form? Think about it. When you hit that little plus button or tap create, what are you actually summoning into existence? Well, it's a structured void. It's this digital space literally demanding to be filled, yet right now, it offers absolutely nothing but its own borders. Let's break down exactly what that means. All right, let's jump straight into section 1, the new note phenomenon. Let's look at the literal text provided in our source material, starting with just that very first word, new. By definition, new means not existing before. It represents this completely pristine state before any external information has even been introduced. It's kind of like a genesis point, right? This digital artifact we're analyzing hasn't been recycled or edited. No, it's been willed into existence right now for the very first time. It is totally untainted by past revisions or deleted thoughts. And then we hit the second part of our source material, which is the word note. Now, a note is, by definition, a brief record of facts, topics, or thoughts written down to aid memory. And here is where we find a really fascinating contradiction. It establishes the intended purpose of this digital space, like it exists to hold your memories, your data, your sudden flashes of genius, even though in its current state, it holds absolutely zero records or thoughts. Basically, it's a container defined by what it will eventually hold, rather than what it currently holds. Moving right along to section 2, analyzing the text. Now, what's really interesting here is that this exact phrasing, complete with the 5 markdown hashtags, is the absolute entirety of the source text we were provided. Those 5 hashtags in markdown formatting, they typically designate a heading 5, which, if you're familiar, is a relatively small, subordinate title. It doesn't shout at you with a massive bold heading 1, you know? It quietly, humbly announces itself. Hashtag 5 new note. It's just sitting there, waiting for you to elevate it, to give it actual meaning. So the absolutely crucial point here is that we are looking at a completely unpopulated artifact, totally devoid of any supplementary narrative, external data, or, any additional context at all. We have exactly 3 elements here: the formatting symbols giving it structural hierarchy, the adjective defining its temporal state, and the noun defining its purpose. And that is it. There's no hidden code, no underlying message, no complex data sets to interpret. It's literally the architectural blueprint of a thought that just hasn't happened yet. Which brings us to section 3, the empty reality. If we compare what we typically expect in a populated document against the completely empty note we're analyzing right now, the contrast is it's dramatically clear. A populated note is like a bustling metropolis, right? Full of facts, hyperlinks, bullet points, highlighted text everywhere. It guides your mind and directs your attention. The empty note we're studying, though, it's a completely vacant room. It offers 0 data points beyond its own self-referential title. It tells you exactly what it is, but it categorically refuses to tell you what to think. I really want to let that sink in for a second. The number of additional facts, external links, narratives, or supplemental data points contained within our source material is exactly 0. In a world where we are constantly, and I mean constantly, bombarded with alerts, updates, and just unending streams of content, encountering a true digital 0 is almost kind of jarring, isn't it? It's this rare moment of stillness before the work actually begins. It's the literal pause before you type your very first keystroke. Ultimately, the absolute emptiness of this source material puts all the power right back in your hands. A blank note is nothing until you decide to make it something. It requires your agency, your ideas, and your input to fulfill its destiny as an actual aid to memory. So, looking at the structured, pristine void leaves us with one final provocative question. When you open up your next blank canvas, what will you choose to write? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I absolutely can't wait to explore more fascinating concepts with you next time.